Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Since we weren't just talking before we hit record. So thank you so much for being here. I wanted to do this interview with you. So for those of you who are watching or listening back, Amy came through my initial program, Soul Business Accelerator. Back, I think you started in March of 2022. Is that right? Yeah. So this
Yes. Mhm.
And now Amy is in my inner circle, which is a year long where we focus on now scaling to sort of multiple six figures, just a little bit more leveraged time, consistent income, sustainable income, whatnot. But who I really want you to speak to today is anyone who was in your situation when you started, and maybe having that disbelief that they can actually earn income through their business. So do you want to start and just share a little bit about where you were in your business when you came to me?
Yeah. So when I came to you in March, I had just come off a winter of averaging about 3K a month. And I was feeling really good about the momentum I had in those 3 months. And then came to this realization, because I didn't really have a solid strategy. I didn't have like a framework with how I was coaching all of my clients, that I was spending so much energy and time in creating these one-off experiences for each client.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that energy pulled me away from actually continuing to market myself and like putting myself out there, which I've learned over the course of this year is so important, to building the consistency. So as I got into the month of January and I realized I have no leads, like I really have no leads, like
Yep.
bringing me into, the rest of 2020, 2022. I was like, I don't have this, whatever I'm doing is not a strategy. Like it's not creating this feeling of stability or consistency in my business.
You were winging it just to see,
I was
like,
doing that.
this
Yeah.
month I'm going to do this and try and get these clients. And then, okay, now I'm at the next month, but I have no money coming in. So now I have to do this to try and get clients. And oh my God, it's like, and which is where we all start. I did the same thing. We all start there, but it's so
Yeah.
stressful and it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And it hit me because I had been doing that for 2 years. And I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. There has to be an easier way. And I was solely like focused on Instagram because
Right.
this whole dream of like, just focus on Instagram and be an influencer. And then I was like, do I want to be an influencer? I don't know if that's my life. So
Totally.
yeah, your ad came up and I was like, wait, what is this? And I fully resonated with you. I loved your energy and like the idea of, you know, the social media is that internal marketing, and really what you need to do is put yourself out there, focus on the external. I was like, duh, like that totally makes sense, right? So it was like this huge moment of relief because I'm like, oh, like there is somebody else out there that has a strategy that feels really supportive. And that's exactly what I felt when I saw that. I was like, oh, I feel supported. I actually felt safer in my body with it. I was like, this is what I need to know, that I don't need to keep getting like creating content, giving and giving and giving.
Right.
And like putting all my hopes on the star, like someone will,
See
take the
your
offer.
post. Yeah, see your post, and maybe they're going to resonate with it. And then maybe they're going to book a call, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, and that's, yeah, and that doesn't work. That's just, and we might get, like, we might get a few clients that way, but it's just not predictable. So I think when you say safety, my thought goes, well, yeah, the strategy is safety because by putting these speaking engagements or these collaborations or these signature workshops that I help you build in place, you have a way of saying, okay, I'm going to get in front of X amount of people next month. And you know that it's like a faucet you can turn on of how to bring clients in, as opposed to just the post and pray that people do on social media.
Exactly.
So,
And when I came into the program, my income dropped, and I was like, okay, it's okay. I'm going to spend the next, month building out my program, building out the foundation, building out the workshop.
yep.
And the other thing that I was doing, because I kept serving the same people in Instagram, was like, I have to create this new thing or this new thing. Maybe this will entice them. And when I
Yeah.
finally put all my energy into the signature program that I've been sitting with, that I had been kind of taking people through, that I knew there were ways in which I was getting real results,
Yep.
putting it all on paper and making it the foundation of my business, it shifted everything.
So rather than creating all these new offers to try and entice your current following, you decided, and this is a strategy that we teach in Side Soul Business Accelerators, teach or create one offering and then expand, like sell that offering to your audience consistently, but expand your audience so that you have more people
Exactly.
the one offer too. Yeah, we had to flip it for you.
100%. And then it felt sustainable, energetically sustainable for me. It wasn't like I had to recreate everything all of the time.
Yes.
I could feel like an expert in that program. It felt, again, to your point, like it felt like I could build consistency from that. Right. And so the consistency brought me into a place of feeling safe. So I remember before I joined having a conversation and learning about the program and them asking me like where my income had been. And I was like, I'm averaging about 3K, it's dipping a little bit. And, telling them most of it was coming from referrals, a few people from Instagram, but a lot of referrals. And the statement was, oh, you'll definitely be at 8K by October. And I was like, wow, if there's that much confidence in this program, I'm sold. And sure enough, I did the program. I was like, I'm following every bit in like all of the pieces. I put in the work and it felt really good to do work that I knew would have a big payoff. And then by September, I had actually August, I hit 7K. And then in September, I hit 9. So I actually made it before. It was like 4 months after I signed. Yeah.
Freaking awesome. That's the thing. It's like you just follow the little roadmap and you put it in place and you master it and it freaking works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. That is so incredible.
Yeah. And it feels really nice to know that. I mean, one of the other things that I've learned recently is that with that external marketing and the outreach and the networking, I mean, I now probably have 20 solid leads for my business that I'm keeping warm. And
Yes.
that in itself is like, oh, it's nice to know. Like, and if I stay consistent with it, which I can do now because I'm not creating new programs every other month, like I can continuously have these leads. Like that is what the business is, right? And so
And that is the pipeline that you and I come from. We know sales, we know pipeline, but not everyone has a business background. They don't know what a pipeline is. And a pipeline is exactly what Amy just said. So she knows right now she has 20 leads that are warm. They're not just like people that are cold. They're 20 leads that are warm that she can continue to nurture that will become clients. I'm the same. We probably have a list of around 50 to 70 that are very warm leads. We have only like 6,000 on my list. It's not even very big, but knowing that you have these warm leads and that some of them will definitely move into your program next month or the month after, or even in the month after is where that safety also comes from. And I love how you put it so perfectly. When we have just one offer that kicks ass in creating transformation for our clients, gets amazing results, and we fully believe in it, we don't even feel like we're selling anything. We can just be out here focusing on our external marketing and continually bringing in new leads to sell our one program too. And it's like, we don't have to worry about creating new things every single month. So we are free to go out here and bring leads in to fill our pipeline. And that's where the bigger months come in. That's where the 7 and the 9 and the 10 and the 12. And, you might even already have 5 or 7 lined up in January by the end of this month or next month, right? So that's when we start to feel really safe in our business. And that's when we actually have a business. It's not just a side hustle or a hobby anymore.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm now calling it my business, which I don't think I would have done in March,
What do you think you were called? Like, what was it? What did it feel like in March to you? What
Honestly, I was very shy about it. Like that was the other thing that I learned is like, you got to talk about it. You got to talk, like you have to know it so well and be so proud of it that you just will share it with anybody, share it with like the person at the grocery store, share it with at the dinner table conversation when you go over, to someone's house, like have pride in it. And I think that, a big shift for me was seeing it as a business and seeing myself not only as a guide and healer, but as a business owner.
Yes.
I think having the strategy is what helped me to feel more confident in that, because before I just felt like I was moving in a way that I felt wobbly.
Yeah.
I felt wobbly. And I was like, I know a successful business has a strategy and like doesn't feel wobbly. Like they have a plan. So,
Yeah.
and they have consistency, and all of those things were things I didn't have. And then when I signed up with you, it was, it happened very quickly. Like putting in the work and the effort and focus, it happened really fast. So yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden your time was freed up as well. You just didn't have all the energy going to, I think also when you were saying earlier about how you felt not weird, but kind of uncomfortable talking about it. When you're creating offers every month and trying to figure out what to sell, you're not clear on what you're selling or what you're doing. And so then it makes it weird to talk about. I think whenever we put something solid in place, so like I have Soul Business Accelerator or Inner Circle or Awaken Your Purpose, like I know what I do because it's all solidified. And I think when we finally like make the one offer in the program, which we do inside Soul Business Accelerator, you kind of know what you do now and you have a way of talking about it too.
It's so much easier.
Yeah.
Like it's actually like telling a story rather than pitching something. Like the program that I create, it's like you can actually walk them through the evolution. Like you can walk them through how they'll transform. And it just feels different. Like, having that conversation with someone, they're usually like, I can see that you put a lot of, beautiful thought into this, and it's exactly what I need.
Oh,
And that is so rewarding. It's like, okay, great. I'm so happy. Like that part is where you start to see, oh, if I really just focus my energy on this thing and believe in it, and know from previous experience that these elements work, imagine how they all work together. And if you're just starting out, like trying it with a few people and knowing that it's going to evolve, like that's the other thing. Like what I've learned over the last 2 years is that I've evolved a lot, and so does some of the things I offer, and it shifts a little bit. And even after putting, a dozen people through the program so far this year, I'm like, actually, this piece might actually work better, like in this part of the program, right? And
right.
being open to adjusting it. And what I'll say for many years is that I hesitated because I wanted it to be perfect. And one of my big tips is like, just like do it, like what I think you say, take imperfect action. And that is such a great, that they don't know that it's not perfect. You know what I mean? Like just go for it and see what happens, and put your like beautiful energy behind it, and people will respond to that. So
Yep.
you know
Absolutely.
putting it out there, taking imperfect action,
Yep.
um, putting together a strategy for yourself,
Yep.
huge. And in the process, seeing how all of this is actually really supportive for you. I mean, I do a lot of nervous system work, and knowing that I have this one program brings such a sense of like I said, safety and
Yeah.
like reassurance that I know it works. I know how to bring it to people outside of my Instagram and my LinkedIn account. I know how to market myself externally,
Yep.
and feeling really confident and assured that it's a business now. Like I have a real strategy.
Oh,
So
I love
yeah.
that. It's a business. I know. I think that's a really big shift people make. So, okay. So strategy is definitely a huge component of that. And I think you've given us some really powerful shifts that you made strategically. So before you share where they can find you, can you just from like an emotional perspective, because our emotions get in our way all the time. And what I've seen that is if we don't have the ability to manage our emotions and remove, not remove, but if we don't, our emotions can take over and strategy goes out the window. So like what would be your one tip for someone who's like, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know, is this ever going to work? And they're spinning in that question and that self-doubt and that just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that I do to help my mindset, and just know that the fear is coming before a big expansion. I mean, that's what I've realized.
Oh my gosh.
If you can reframe the fear to be about, oh, I'm entering into this bigger expansion for myself, then you start to use some of your tools. Like I use EFT, I use breath work, I take long walks in nature, and I even do visualization around what that expansion will look like. And for most, I feel like it's the fear. It's the fear of like, what if this doesn't work? And I always reframe it as, well, what will happen if it does work? Like, think about reframing it and saying, yeah, when this does work,
Yes.
this is what it will look like. This is how it will feel. This is what I'll be doing. And that's usually what gets me past that hump of fear. And I mean, what I do is emotional work and I do somatic work. And so I stand true to what I teach and I use a lot of it for myself. And it's really important. It's part of the process of continuously expanding and stretching. And you and I had this conversation because now I'm in inner circle. Stepping into this next level of my business, the fear came creeping back in. And so I needed to do that work and remember, you've been here before. The last time that you felt this fear, it was a stretch for you. You were moving into something transformative and bigger for yourself. And you can hold that. Like you have the ability to hold that.
Yes. And I think too, then on top of that, the only way that it's not going to work is if you quit or you stop. And if
Exactly.
you just persist and you work through the fear and you hold the fear and you just commit to not quitting, that I think is everything for me. That has honestly been the biggest thing for me too, is following the fear, allowing it to be there and knowing that it always comes before a huge breakthrough, a huge up level, a huge transformation, and to keep reminding myself of that. And then also, and the only way that's actually not going to work is if I quit or I don't persist. And so for me, it just is like, okay, great. I might have a million failures and I'm still not going to give up. So it's definitely going to work. It's just a matter of when,
It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And honestly, like I needed the motivation of a strategy and a plan to say, oh, I'm ready to go for it. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to push through the fear. Because if you're wandering aimlessly and you're sitting
No,
with that fear,
yeah, no good.
it doesn't feel motivating. Like I know that because I was there.
Because there's no point. You don't,
Right.
what you're doing all this work emotionally and in your business for nothing. So it's like, if you
Yeah.
don't have a plan, then of course that to me is pointless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I had an image just now of like you having a map. It's like you having a map to walk up a mountain or
Mhm.
not having a map, and you get to a place in the mountain and instead of continuing to move up, you might slip back down, right? And so the map takes you to a way of getting up the mountain,
Yes.
that gets you there safely. And that's kind of what I feel the strategy in your business provides for you, both physically, emotionally, energetically, and obviously financially. I feel
Right.
it happened so fast. So
So
yeah.
anyone who's thinking about joining Soul Business Accelerator, maybe they've just found me because we have a lot of people that just find us and they start binge watching all the videos. What would you tell them about Soul Business Accelerator and working with us, my team and I?
Yeah. Well, I have to say, the way in which you structured it was so supportive. Having the modules that I could take on my own and actually absorb the information. They were really good, like short videos where I could action after. It felt very, it felt very digestible, which I was really nice for me. And then having the additional support of the Q&A sessions and then also the one-on-one sessions. Part of me was always very nervous about taking a marketing or business course that was online because I didn't have anybody to like throw my ideas with, like to brainstorm, to ask questions. And I do have a business background, but I don't have a marketing background. And marketing is so key in this business. And being able to like work on my pitch with someone, and it was focus time on my message and my pitch made such a huge difference in my confidence. And then I think just with you, you're so kind and so supportive, and like you're such a cheerleader for all of the women and men that come in, just like that you work with, and the passion that you have for what you've done and like what you do, and showing up in a way that is just energizing. You're truly magnetic, and that doesn't stop. That doesn't stop when you're in the program. She's there for you. It's not like you become obscure.
Mm.
And you have an incredible support team with Leanne and Mandy. So they're really incredible, incredible women. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you.
Yes, yes. It's all
Uh,
true.
yes, thank you. Yes. And now tell us about your business and what you do and where women can find you, because your work is so beautiful and so powerful and so transformational.
Yeah, thank you. I am a master life and success coach, but I call myself an emotional wellness facilitator and embodiment coach. And I do a lot of work with somatics and emotional healing. I support a midlife guide supporting women into emotional and spiritual wellness so they can have fulfilling careers, full-hearted relationships, and just an ongoing wellness in their life. And my website is therecreated.com. And I'm on
I love your name,
Instagram.
by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Every time I see it on Instagram, nobody else on Instagram every time I see your handle like pop up anywhere, I'm always like, I just love that. It's so beautiful and yeah, because you're the recreated on, or is it just recreated on Instagram?
It's the_recreated_. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm usually on Instagram. I'm getting back on LinkedIn. But yeah, you can find me there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think it just helps so much to see real women. I mean, I started from scratch as well. I am not any more special than anyone else out there. I was going through a terrible marriage. I was recovering from cancer. I hated my career. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I've been able to do it as well. I think just hearing women's stories of like, yeah, I started at zero and I made this happen is so there's no reason why we can do it and other people can't. So
Yeah. I actually feel that energy so much in your program. I was like, oh, and I think again, like I know I said this a million times, but it comes back to having a strategy. It's like if you're
yeah,
just winging it, it feels like it's more around, luck when actually you can create it for yourself.
take that control, take the power. Absolutely. There is no way I was talking, actually just did a Facebook Live about that. And I think we talked about this in Inner Circle. It's so important to take charge and learn the skill set and recognize that this is not luck at all. This is actual, like knowing what action to take in what order and at what time. And I think that's what I wanted at the beginning of my business. And that's why I created Soul Business Accelerators, because it's exactly that. And I think it's so dangerous when, especially women, we just tend to say, oh, well, I wish that this will happen. And maybe one day I can have wealth or whatever. It's like, no, we actually have the power to create this. We just need to take the steps and the right action to do it. So I love that you brought that up. It's not about luck at all. It's literally about taking the right action and persistence.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
All right.